when I went to San Francisco, life was like beer, parks, getting weed, and having sunshine, and walking on pavements that were swept so clean that you could sit on them and there'd be nothing dirty about sleeping the night in a park because the parks are so immaculate and high, and it has the ocean breeze and the beauty of it, the whole country, but California in particular. Yeah, man, California. I don't know. I tell you one thing though. Is like I get tired of smoking cigarettes. I'd much rather be smoking something like. But it's just so far away now, really. I mean, you just have to beg for it. Like, but the complications are too much. And then I've just made a choice, right? I've decided to vote for making a video instead of uh, leave it on the sort of begging board and wait for a definitive judgment as to the safety or the sanctity of reminiscing with the broken mirror, with the one-way screen, with the pinioned cushion of self-awareness. Not self-awareness, the pillow of my afro to sort of engage with it. No, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Tell me about San Francisco, Mister Man. Tell me about San Francisco, Mister Man. Okay, San Francisco is like this big tech city where there's skyscrapers and hills and trams, and you can walk a dog. You can walk your dog. You can walk your dog on the street, up the walls, into the water. I was there. I did that. We used to, we used to be able to um, hold our appetite uh, into the broken screen, and it was good. It was good times. We had a bit of friendship, a bit of coffee. That's about it. Bit of friendship with your coffee. I used to, I used to, I used to ramble down the streets on my own, looking for somebody to give money to hang out with me. We uh, we hung out outside one of those internet cafes where we used to get like money for beers, and then we used to drink ourselves into a stupor every night at the crossroads where there's heavy traffic to keep us alert for new technology in the field of transportation, which all of our deep dreaming really paid off because now I've got a fancy car, I've got like three wonderful kids, and a new job. Uh, I don't, I don't even have to worry about where I'm getting the money from, or who's the mother, or like um, do I have a license? No, because it's just a matter of accepting what you have, accepting who you have. Um, when you're talking about San Francisco, because San Francisco is so big that you just keep walking in it and never stop walking, and then you'll eventually come to a stop sign, and you just keep going, man. You just keep going until you're nose to the steel of the stop sign, and then you can go, huh. Yeah, that's San Francisco. San Francisco was always in my cup of tea because it holds the key to our salvation. Us Americans, Germans, Japanese, even those of us without countries, who live underground, um, sucking moisture from roots, we still believe in San Francisco above all places in the world because it's the only place that can get us out of this dystopian future that some people think is real. Well, like, I don't know about you, but until I, give myself a few hours off work, I'm only going to be worrying about the kerning in my algebra and whether or not I have food on my face. But, you know, some of you wildcats out there might be thinking, well, how are we going to dismantle these killer robots? Or do we really want to look at rubble every morning with our breakfast on TV? but the answer to that, my friend, is is in the stars. It's ironic. It's the only problem is that we don't have 50 languages for our own sarcasm. We just have a few thousand. Don't worry though, they're all too difficult to learn, so you don't have to even look at it. But you can absorb it in all of your objects around you because we don't fully know yet if we can see. So I'll show you the garden. No, I won't show you the garden. I won't show you the garden. I won't show you the garden because you can just imagine the dystopian future outside my curtains here. Okay, it's just there's just wild machines and they're all humming and they're poking gravestones out of the ground and there's your mom is coming and she's coming for you as well. Your mom is coming for you out there. Okay, so that's why I'm not going to show you. It's just too painful, man. You just don't want to have to look at your at your you don't want to have to look at the dark future, basically. Yeah. Good job. Good job. Dun, dun, dun. But someday when I've got my props, my hat, my evil wizard hat, and some harder drugs and a straitjacket, I'll show you that future. Yeah. But for now, I'll talk about San Francisco. Tell me about what you did in San Fran. Well, it's not really what I did, but who I was. Because I was able to live without doing too much, right? I didn't do too much in San Francisco. I actually did a lot in San Francisco, to be honest, but I didn't do myself in. Well, I did, like, but I didn't do it in a non-60s vibe sort of hell or high water kind of way, which is how you live when you're like an ex-hipster, isn't it? Um, I was with the child of naivety at heart. I was embarking on new ventures, totally proprietary ventures. It was all about what you have. You have your stuff, you have your DVDs and your bag of books, and you're wandering down the street, and you put your sandwiches in your bag as well. And then you're like, let's go to the park, or let's go to the beach. Yeah, are you ready to go? Are you ready to go? And you're not ready to go. You have to get ready, and then you realize you're like just fucking super cool guy getting up and not even looking in the mirror, not getting dressed properly, and just throwing your sandwiches in your bag, throwing your books in your bag, looking at your friend and going, "All right, we're ready to go. We just let's get the fuck out of here." So we go walking all fucking day. We're walking all day. We're supporting each other by talking to each other all day as well, right? We get energy from each other just by talking to each other. And that's a big lie. You can't do that. Your mother would know. You can't just live off conversation. But it looks like that sometimes. And maybe it's true. Because, let's face it, we have the capacity to communicate. So, we should. But it's not just that. We're complex beings and we have questions about each other. So why are we not naturally inclined to express truths that we hold? And holding the truths inside so much, it's like being in prison, But I don't know, because if it's not like that, are you going to change your outlook on life and think about there not being a dystopian police state beyond these curtains, where crimes are happening, cover-ups are also happening. So, you know, I don't know what's going on, but I'll tell you one thing: I get beaten up, serves me right, because somebody's gonna be like, "This motherfucker don't know shit, man. I will pop a cap in his ass," and then somebody else is gonna be like, "That fool should have stuck with his studies. What an idiot." Children, learn what you can, but return it to the waste paper basket because it's filth. And then somebody else will be like, "Oh my god, that poor guy, he lives at home with his mom, but he has a small dick." And then somebody else is going to be like, "I know that guy. Yeah, he saved me one day. Oh man, he's still doing really good. I mean, look at me. I've got all these things growing on me and other things profiting from it." Well, I don't know. Maybe only one of those things is true. But I still have to figure out like the most basic things, because I learned everything I need to know how to survive in San Francisco. Okay, I learned how to get up and go out on the streets and not be known. Okay, I'm too well known here. There's just no way I'm going to be able to do that. I can't just get up, walk out. I'm fucking brainwashed as well into thinking that I have to have breakfast first thing in the morning. It's impossible. Everything is impossible. Okay, I'm supposed to be a vegetarian, and all I get is meat. Not only that, man, they're turning me into a pig. They're gonna string me up, put me on a showcase or something. They've already done that. I've already put myself on a showcase, showing stairs, stone stairs, stone stairs, stone stairs. They haunting me. Well, they do haunt me, actually. The stone stairs haunt me in a way that is so gratifying to my ego that I don't know how else to live other than to just sit on it. And that's a sin as well. And it all goes back to the old prophecy, all the poems and stuff. But you should check into it, my poems. You should read my poems, man. Somebody else should read my poems so that I don't have the burden of my fate, which for some reason is supposed to be an advertisement to a cursed land of something that's being forgotten. which is like a very important message, actually. It's such an important poem. It's unreal how important it is. That it's just like overflowed out of reality into the world of games, but actually it's real. Well, whatever, it's not real. It's not real. Nothing is real, man. The only thing that's real is the dystopian future outside the window, and the fact that I'm living in this really sheltered universe that is only going to cause like fragmentation and confusion and anger out there, because somebody's going to be like, oh man, this guy, who does he think he is? He's got all this energy, what's he doing with it? You know, what are you doing with your energy, man? You know, I'm not stealing your voice, that's for sure. I have to use my own voice, and I have to be honest and sincere, and that's what I've decided to do. I've decided not to put voices on in my videos thus far, like, because with putting on voices, it's like stealing energy from others, from other people's souls of it. If it's not part of a like a cartoon or something, if it's not part of some creature of creation that you've decided you love, right? I haven't decided that I love my comic guy, so I haven't the purpose that a voice actor would have for those things, and that means that I can't put on voices. All right, I only do that as a last resort if I can't express something fast enough or properly enough, or if I've earned the right to borrow a sound, whatever, from somebody else, somebody unknown, but it's an ideal as well. It's an ideal that's worth protecting with not talking. Then I'm just giving up rules. You know, I'm giving up all these rules, right? Like, hey, this is what I do and all this. And then that's like because I'm very close to material life, and the material world has rules in it apparently, because we're all trying to live with it. We're all trying to deal with material objects, and that's why there's no magic in the world. But you see, the thing is, the magic is silent, and it's your dreams, you know, and it's natural. It's a very natural thing to dismiss and to angrily revolt against all of these sort of structures that are holding things together. And I'm not saying we're gonna just break houses and break walls and stuff, but like, because that's obviously a cop out. But I'm saying, obviously, let's encourage each other to not be stuck in the structures that it looks like we're in, because well, first of all, maybe I'm wasting my time in anyway. Like the only thing that seems to be interesting is actually history. Okay, like you have your own history, and I'm talking about San Francisco, and that is what makes a good conversation with yourself, thinking about the past and talking about history, and like it fucking matters, because it does matter, you know. And that's probably the most honest revolt against this whole recording culture that I've decided to just fucking dive balls first into, is that we have memory, and we should protect our memory by upholding it when we're faced with a god of memory that is a recording device. And this thing has been here longer than any of us living, so it seems like a god, because it's, you know, it's insurmountably powerful in its capacity to record. So much so that it's infiltrated itself into like political engagements and like medical systems, or it seems to be the case. But like, maybe that's a subjective viewpoint, and maybe most professionals are beyond that stage of thinking that it's part of their to-do list, or it's on their plate to have to deal with tools of record that, you know, in a healthy company are second or much lower priority to direct contact in meetings and, you know, the receipt of work plans from each other, which you don't get on your own. And then you just get the system, and the system says, are you recording this? The system says, would you like to record something? Because it doesn't say, would you like to waste your time and do nothing and waffle and have no result, right? Because that system is ignored. It probably exists, but it's like a parasite or something. In the system terminology, we have viruses and, medical metaphors to describe things that aren't aiding in the system's self-propagation. That in the naivety of sort of not having to deal with too much baggage, one might wander into the playing field there and say, why don't I make a robot that pretends to be my friend and tells me to laugh and play and sing? What joy! I'm a genius. Because I mean, there's just no way you're going to convince anybody who has intelligence that that's worth repeating, right? I mean, this is a video. Most of the videos that have value to someone like me who thinks he's learned or trying to learn something is that you don't understand everything you're saying, right? You trust that your voice carries thoughts faster than you can judge them, so that later on when you have the recording device, you have value there. You just have to go in and interpret it. But if you're talking about history, it's a different story as well, because you know the history you're talking about, because it's your history that you're talking about. Like, so you're not going to get it from fucking tone. You get it from thinking and reminiscing. So, like, being example of doing that is the art. The art is in remembering, and yeah, it truly must be, but it's tough. It seems so difficult to actually just remember something because there's no prompts, right? But you don't want prompts. I mean, you don't want the interrogation, like, what did you do on the night of September 21st, 2004? You just want to remember what you want to remember, because it's a sacrifice as well, because you're like, the more you actually put yourself in the past, the more of the eternal world is enlightened. And it's a sacrifice to sort of sink into it. You'd be different sinking into it or ignoring it. But then a lot of the things you do in life could be, substandard too. I mean, obviously most of the things that I'm doing now is not perfect because of the state that I'm in, man. I'm like, I'm really bad, actually. I'm really bad because there's just like, there's no expression, and I need to express things, like, obviously, but like, my Fitbit's telling me that I need to move. My expression is just eating up my own attention now, because like, I have video and then I'm going to look back and it's just going to take all my attention. I have to be able to tell myself in my old videos that science is moving on and that's obsolete with every video that I make if I want to improve. And that's what I'm sort of projecting, that is the company mission, if there is one, is that the videos will get better because I'll get better. But that's only because I'm changing my mindset into being able to make videos and be respectable with it. I'm still not going to put any videos where I'm smoking on the internet. I've decided, because it's just obviously not how I want to present myself as some guy who's smoking in his room. Is it? But, like, What do I think? Do I think that someday everything's just going to be whoop-de fucking perfect? And then I'll be like, oh, where are the videos, man? Where are the old videos of you doing your crazy kooky shit that you can't do anymore because you're too popular now? And then I'll be like, oh, what is this? It's 2 hours of me being a bit sickly and smoking and drinking. Yep. But it's not just that, man. I have neighbors, okay? And it's like, I'm talking out loud, and everybody seems to be okay with this. But it's a new development, all right? This happened like the last 10 years or something. People became more like tolerant of people talking to them, talking for a video, and now it's like this official thing, and nobody's doing it purely for the sake of truth seeking anymore. Well, we don't know that. We don't know that. But it must be fucking difficult because of all the talking that people are doing on the internet. So it's like, there's somewhere out there's like these kung fu artists that are like sworn to secrecy. And this is just another fucking like bale of straw on the donkey's back. Eventually we're gonna get loads of shit from all these kung fu artists who are just gonna like jump out of drain pipes and give you some kung fu and shut you up. But how are they gonna shut you up? They're gonna install software directly into your brain, and the software will be like enhancements that make us immediately able to like jump and kick when we give ourselves buzzwords by accident in a dystopian future where everybody's doing the same thing and just talking to themselves on the computers. So when you say a word like action, it doesn't you don't get to say action anymore, because you get to the point where you're about to say action and then it triggers this mental neural thing and you just do a instead, and you do some kind of kung fu move instead, and then it's viewed as biologically adequate because it's not going downhill. So and that's kind of like some of my expert opinion on kung fu, which I don't know anything about, so don't ask me about kung fu, man. And it's a crying shame because I always wanted to know a bit about kung fu, actually. But now we just have to listen to nature. But anyway, look, San Francisco, what's going on? Well, right now, it's okay. So put yourself in San Francisco. You wouldn't be talking to yourself. You'd be talking to your friends. And you have supplemental exams, so you didn't pass all your subjects. So you're studying for them in your spare time, and that's your fucking work, man. You got like such a fucking work ethic. It's a wonder you even like left the country at all. That you even took a holiday, but you're there trying to fit 2 hours or 3 hours of study in every day, and you're being a cool guy as well. You're just hanging out most of the time. So that's not how you talk about it as well. This is very low level judgment. Okay, this is low level waffle. It's still waffle, man. And how you look at it, like, what did you do? Like, I can't respect myself from the past either. Right? I don't respect it. Like, I don't respect it. I was right. I don't respect it because I think I have a result. I wrote something and then I think like, oh, that's it. Okay, I have to move on. I have to try and survive. It's like it's a wonder I've even gotten this far in life, because there's like what have I got that isn't total freedom to abandon my work, which is not what I deserve. Right? I deserve to be given my work. But it's not like vital to anything because it's creative work. So like, how can it be necessary until it's made and used? And then everything's stolen anyway. Like, the thing about being a mathematician is you have to love maths, and that's the only thing that can make you morally justified in performing mechanical operations in your head or with a pen, with the tools of expression, and to write something that isn't you, but that supports some system of rules or thought processes that can lead to success for anybody else who's doing the same kind of thing. The thing about maths is it's very applicable, but it's too applicable to the fucking military and all of these other things that it just feels like we're all being shunted out. All the real people who are just being shunted out, and we have calculated, but it's been felt like that since day one. To be fair, like you were able to delude yourself when you were in primary school with crosswords and no, not crosswords, countdown. Yeah, with countdown, you were able to do countdown when you were young, but now it's like you still do countdown because that's the thing. You did it once well, and you can always do it well, but the balance is so different. Like it's like dependable as a hobby to do sums, but everything else is controlling your sense of satisfaction so that you don't feel like it's an accomplishment anymore, or you feel like it is an accomplishment but it's going to something else. It always goes to something else. You never think that you don't need it. Maybe you do your best work when you don't need it, But then, is that evil? You have to think, is it evil? Is it evil that was done by a kid who didn't have life experience? But the kid was able to judge that 75 multiplied by 4 is 300, and to have that clear vision of those numbers. But when you're older, you don't have a clear vision of the numbers because you use the numbers and you've seen the numbers used so much that it only relates to these other things that are a bit more wan. They're a bit more drab. But anyway, I mean, like, how would I think about San Francisco, really? If I was going to San Francisco tomorrow, I'd be excited, but I'd be obviously immediately integrating it into everything else that's going on in my life. I'd be thinking, tomorrow, oh man, I gotta get dressed, I gotta have a shower, I gotta rest, because if I'm going tomorrow, then I have to go through the airport, I have to carry luggage, I have to pack, I have to do all these things. And then I have to make sure I know where I'm going when I get there, and I have to have planned to like work. I'm going to start planning to work as well, and then it's not going to work because somebody's going to be like, "Well, that's not going to happen," and like, good luck with that. And then when I get there, it won't be the same either because it's like all these environmental factors are just going to trigger me into being distracted, and I won't be able to concentrate on just pure analysis of anything because there'll be like people walking their dogs outside and it's a sunny day and they don't know who I am and I don't know who I am. So I go out there and I talk to a lot of different people and I'll probably try and get weed and, I'll end up following someone on the first day because I'm so naive. Still, I think I'm naive, but that's what it was like when I was in San Francisco the first time. Now it probably wouldn't be the same, but it's actually much more pleasant to be naive than it is to think you know things. And then the next step then is you just dismiss things that you would have done. Like, you would have had a bit of fun in San Francisco, but you don't know how to do it by yourself. So you end up following somebody else and probably have a beer or something, and then you be enlightened with all this company that you have, but you're not a cool guy anymore. So it's like, so who are you? What are you doing with yourself? And you're just a loser, basically. You're really a loser. Well, it looks like you're a loser because you don't. But that's the thing. Like, are you? Like, what the fuck? There's a difference between like being a loser where you are and being a loser anywhere, right? I mean, there's some places in the world you could go and you just wouldn't be a loser. Maybe San Francisco is one of those places. Goddamn right, man. Yeah, you tell it. You just wouldn't be a loser in San Francisco. But with the robots and the police state and, you know, healthcare or whatever, all the things that people complain about, yeah, with all that stuff going on, and somebody's asking you questions like, what are you doing about that? And then you're like, well, my plan is to have some time to read some books. I'm trying to read the books, but I have to use my inner voice, and I don't. I know there's a part of it that has peace aspect, and instead of talking about that properly and faithfully, which is difficult, it's difficult to fucking talk about anything, man. Like, I've taken a dive out of this peaceful existence, and for a reason as well. I don't want to shame or destroy all of the things that I actually value, right? By talking about them in this state. I've decided to start talking at a substandard level, at a sub-social level, just so I can get some exercise, because I'm treating talking as an exercise that's worthwhile in itself, not to represent something, but in itself to fight for something. And because of that, I've dived away from all these other things, simpler things that I could say with less energy that would be true and protected. And that's fair. It's fair, you know. I can't just be, you know, Mr. sitting on the chair giving the answers, you know. I have to ask questions. Yeah, it's who I am. And most of these questions are subtle and they're not even intonated properly. They're just expressions of things that I am not 100% sure of. So that when I listen over it, I can only doubt it. And doubt it I will. And I'll slam the phone down on the desk and I'll say, that guy, he's not right. You know, he's not telling it like it is. He's not true. And it's not true now. You know, like, especially if I improve, right? So, like, that's science, actually. You know, science says this is the way things work, but it says it in such a way that it's actually welcomed in society as something that somebody can say anyway, at any time. But it's given to children to learn. But when we find a better way of describing it, we'll do it that way. And, you know, that's part of science covering itself with better science. But there are so many holes in contemporary science. Like, I mean, people are accustomed to saying that basic truths were discovered first by this dead white guy or whatever. And it's like, we're so used to that. It's just this comfortable way of engaging with everything in reality that we learn from a book. But it's just not true. I mean, we don't look at a grave to believe mathematics. But maybe that's just politics. Maybe it's actually politics and not truth. Well, it doesn't even matter anyway, because when you're a kid, you don't care. When a kid, you're just like, well, what's the truth? Give me the truth. And you find it out. And then you realize that you're able to express it. But then your natural prudence would be like, well, I didn't invent it. I'm only a kid, right? But it's not even that. It's like, well, maybe I didn't invent it for most of it, right? What's that like? What's it like not thinking that you know stuff about mathematics? Which is what I'm investigating with the airs of a professional. I'm investigating the simple life of not knowing mathematics. Well, I know mathematics in some sense, but I also believe with full conviction that all of nature knows mathematics more comprehensively than one person can articulate. So, like, I mean, you look at nature, and nature has all these shapes and forms and patterns and everything. Everything. It's like all you can do with your articulation is get yourself out of a hole, basically. Or fight the dragon or the alien or the monster with logic and decisiveness. And then, over the last few years, the military has just taken over everything. With the fucking lockdown and the fucking war, they've taken over my jobs of thinking mathematics and being a genius. There's no room for somebody to be a genius when they're living at home with their mom. They're like not in their working environment anymore, and they're deluding themselves with all of these efforts to hold on to it. And I could be doing something else as well. That's why I'm here, though. I'm here because of that. Because I'm trying to do maths. It's the reason I don't have a car or an interest in women. And when I say I don't have an interest in women, it means that I'm just being very delicate with the whole conversation, basically. And for the box, I think that's fair. But for me, where's my black friends who are going to tell me, to put on a wig or something? I don't mean like, oh, how do you attract women? You wear a wig, of course. Like, but I don't wear wigs. The last time I wore a wig was at the women's mini marathon. Yeah, good times. But San Francisco is a memory, and see, the thing about it is, you can either remember the memory in full pride with glory, or you can just waffle and waffle and waffle like a fucking headless chicken, totally out of control, disregard for the sanctity of your own voice, until all the energy that would have gone into memory just goes into the fucking interstellar medium and their acquisition of your tools of expression, which is likely the case. Everything you're saying right now is just going to be recapitulated, if that's the right word, and it's not. I don't even know what the right word is. It's going to be recapitulated and abused by all of these terrible machines that they'll just steal all the words and they won't tell anyone about it. And then they'll convert it into some pretty face bullshit, which I'm sure is what happens all the time nowadays. And we have to fucking watch out for that, right? We have to fucking watch out for that. So if we are looking at a robot talking what I want to talk about, then I have to say to that robot, "Fuck you!" No. Don't do that. Don't do that, because it's just not fair. Somebody else wants to do that, okay? Just let them do it, right? I'm not doing that anymore. I'm sorry. It's not like I've always done that either, but I don't want to derive pleasure. I don't want to derive pleasure from putting on a voice, okay? Even though it makes me feel like I'm connected with others better. But it's just because my voice itself is becoming a bit distasteful. Because I'm over exalted. I'm overly exalted with the toy and the floor as well. This is such a dictatorship, it's absolutely ridiculous. There's just no way that anybody with common sense would still be listening. You'd have to be a demon of the underworld to be able to keep listening to somebody else waffle for like an hour, and then people do that, but with the promise that they will have the power of being able to integrate complex functions. The problem, though, is that you won't. Okay, you could be sitting there for 2 hours and you just won't know how to integrate complex functions. You just have a plan that you're like, oh yeah, well, I could spend 2 hours by myself integrating complex functions, and that's how long it takes. It takes 2 hours to integrate a complex function. I've done it in my project, Red. The link's down below. Check it out. The link. Get the link. Do the maths. Use your brain. Yeah. Be like me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm having too much fun. And that's the problem as well. These pleasures are actually for the working man. They're for the working man. Your job is to just remember San Francisco. That's all you got to do, right? Yeah, so like there was jazz on the streets. We had coffee. Coffee? 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 We have coffee? We had coffee, yeah. But it's like you had a mission, and your mission was to be a good friend as well, but it wasn't like your job to be a good friend, but it, related to your real job, which was to be a student. So maybe there was a bit too much of the cold analysis that sort of infected our friendship in a lot of ways, because look, we were all so fucking full of ourselves as well, like, being the students. Like, I was the maths guy and he's the English guy, but really we're both incorporating all aspects of both those fields into our actions because we're spending time together. But it's like a miracle that I even had a friend, you know. But it's also like it completely dominated everything I did, more or less. Everything that I'm proud of. I could say we went to the museum. I could say we walked down to visit Aero. But I could also say that I joked with myself when I was alone, and I made up plans when I was alone. That's what I did. When I was alone, I decided what would make my life fun is getting 50 free music CDs from the library and saving them on my computer and then transferring them into MP3. That process takes like hours to do properly, and then it really takes up so much time, and you don't see that before you do it, but you just know in your heart that that's what you want to have. You want those musics on your discs, but but like it's so much work as well, and it's like part of that is self-sustaining as well. It's like a positive thing for a young person to do, is go and read and receive the culture that they're living in properly, intellectually and intelligently, and go and ask questions in a book, and then have the question in your mind when you find yourself in a bar with nothing to do, to be able to bring it up in conversation in your own translation, and say like, could you imagine if aliens came, but then you just think childhood end, you think of a book or a science fiction novel, and it gives you much more of an interesting path of inquiry than forcing yourself to waffle for a camera. But you've also got like the snooker table reminds you of studying, collisions, and walking on the streets. It reminds you of like, all these wonderful romantic moments in books, in novels, and being in the midst of a life that you might as well see from the outside, in a great sense as well. The great soul of the outside world has people who are living their lives, and they're in the climax of their lives on those streets. And it's all mixed up with these proper nouns, and like it's like Susie wanted me to come back to her, but I had to settle an old score with the Thompsons. If they were really bringing their SUV into the system, then we're going to have another 5,000 euros to spend on our laundry. Those are all cliches, but do you think that there was basketball? Oh, I played basketball there, man. Oh, that was fun. It was really fun. Like, Dermot even played too. He's my friend. Don't say any names. I'm just making that up. It's not his real name. It's not his real name, man. No, forget about it. Forget about it. We didn't do crack cocaine together. No, we did nothing together. I don't know him. I don't know him. I swear. That phone number in my phone isn't his number. That's the number of a sex chat. That's it. I'm only talking to people for sex. I don't know anyone by the name of Dermot or Mick or Rob. These are just words I made up for Minecraft. I'm doing a Minecraft video at the moment. You can't tell because you've got too much resolution on your screen. You need to delete some of that resolution. Everybody knows that, man. Everybody knows you have to delete your resolution if you want to be able to play Minecraft properly. With your friends that you make up that aren't real. Remember, they're not real friends if they're, if they're in your memory, they're just the Minecraft friends, right? I'm not incriminating any of my friends. And we didn't do crack cocaine. Not together anyway. Like, well, do I do coke all the time? That is a good question. You could ask that. Very good, yes. Let's delve into it now. The conversation should be not about San Francisco and DuBose Park and walking in the park and having fun and embracing life and listening to Bob Dylan on the MP3 and John Coltrane and talking late into the night about our dreams and our plans and our ideas. It should really be about just that one question. Did you or did you not take cocaine? Ever in your life? Without context. And I think I have to be honest here and say that it's just impossible to tell because that means I have to remember, doesn't it? Like, man, memory is tough. I tell you, memory is like I'm an artist, and I don't prioritize memory because I'm always keeping my hands busy with the next project. And that's why we artists are always so focused on what's the right thing to do, which is to make promises about things that are coming that nobody can see. Because that's how we develop, into the world that we create with magic. And as a result, are actually able to rest on our laurels with knowing that we did everything right, because there was no other opinions ever that might have judged everything as futile. But thank you for the question. Yeah, did you ever take cocaine? And by the way, I don't like cocaine, and I wouldn't do cocaine the way cocaine is meant to be done. No, I would make cocaine into a song and get an army to fight anyone who brings it up without anger, because I'm a modern person, okay, and we modern people have to stick together, phone solidarity, and how many people war, but we worship the stone. Shh, you've already said too much. Okay, so I didn't do it, man. I did not touch cocaine, okay? I did not touch cocaine. Stop. Oh, okay, enough with the questions, all right? How do you know I took cocaine? And what time specifically are we talking about here? And like, how do you know whether I took cocaine out on the streets or whether I took it in my bedroom? You don't have any proof that I took cocaine. So I think you're guilty of false accusations. And you're being immoral as well with your judgment. And you shouldn't even be here. You should be out on the streets, man, taking cocaine. So, I don't know. But look, we don't have to worry about that because we don't take cocaine. If we have other things to do, like there's harder drugs, there's ketamine, but even besides that, we're not going to put ourselves in a position as men, for example, of being, you know, in the presence of a powder that we don't have the answers for, man. We don't. You can ask a physicist. You go out there into a lab and interrupt somebody's work and ask a physicist with money what they think about your issues with drugs. But don't ask me, man, because I'm not a scientist anymore. I'm just a regular sort of scholar person who has nobody to hand his work up to if he chooses to do work, except himself. And obviously, it's just more work getting the right answer. But there's something about looking for the answer, searching for the answer, that is more important than having the answer. Which is why we always we took teachers for granted, because you could do your work and then the teachers would correct it. But I never did that. I always just did the work, and I made sure that the teachers were only giving me the right answers back. They'd never give me the answers that they had to judge. They didn't have to judge me. They just had to be right. And I knew that I didn't know the answer because I forgot, or I didn't read the thing that I should have read. There's all these good reasons why you didn't do well in exams when you did exams, but you always did well in exams until the secondary school, or until the well, actually that's not true, but you see, you had this way of just dismissing things when you were younger because they were obviously not priority when you have a life filled with friendship and sports and travel and real study. And when you're in college, um, the exams are much more difficult because um, because you have to know everything in order to be able to write it correctly. I mean, you can't just half know stuff and then just do it for the exams. It just doesn't work, man. You think that you're getting through, but you're actually just being an asshole, right? We're in it. If you're in school, you're part of a community where you have to be accountable for all of the things that you project yourself as knowing. You can't just pretend you know a course to other people by passing the exams and not knowing what you're doing with those things, and you're everything, and then you're like answering questions to somebody about some topic. You're just going to be saying things like the protocol and the algorithm and the method. You're not really engaging in a human level. And if you are, then you're probably not even changing the curriculum. You want to change the curriculum, right? You have to know everything on the curriculum first, change it without having to advertise. And then when you advertise, you're putting yourself into sort of abyss of judgment that idiots in charge can use against you to dismiss what you say. To be a good student, you got to be wise to that, and you got to make sure that you know what they're asking you to do, because it's a good relationship to be asked to do something. But it's a lot of work to carry that on without success, which I did for years. And it makes me feel like I was a bit of a loser sometimes. Well, it made me feel more like that while I was doing it, and it is tough, but it's not as tough as like not doing it properly and having to lie the rest of your life about something that you think you're supposed to be able to say that you fucking know something about finance or about stuff, and then you ask somebody, did you keep doing that? And then they're like, no, I stopped doing it after I got out of the exams. And you're like, it's basically like saying I survived the apocalypse, but to be honest, it's still going on for everybody else. You're not aware of the fact that everybody is still doing exams, and that's the system that they have. We need to study subjects and then the exams come, and the exams are real tough, and some people are failing the exams, and all that results from that is this psychological benefit of the authorities knowing who passed the exams and who didn't. It's like they know who's capable of following instructions without thinking and who isn't, and who's willing to represent knowledge that they don't have and who isn't. Allow me to introduce myself. Why does everybody have to get into a box to represent, right? You're in an empty room and you think that's normal because you're already making allowances for the fact that you're dealing with this system that has no feeling and is totally judgmental in every possible way that is just not how your soul works. So, I mean, if I was to say, like, I have a book here and it's Sartre, right? Um, it's meaningless because I'm not reading the book. The way I see books is that it needs to be read, right? That needs to be read. That's my work, and I'm very, very slow, very, very slow at it. I'm not getting into it, and I should. And it would be such a pleasure, man. Such a pleasure. But I'm going further than that. I'm trying to get into this book. Like, this is the physics book. It's the standard physics book, and get into that, you're on the right track. You're on the high path, man. But you get into this as well, and it's like you're the wrong shape for the path, and I'm not going on that path in that shape, So you have to be ready for it, because it's part of your life. It's history as well. You have a history of not being subdued by history. When you have a history of science study, it's kind of cool, but maybe that's not my path anymore. Maybe I should be talking about history, and that's weird. Well, I could talk about history. I could talk about anything in history, because give me half an hour beforehand and I'll have something to say. And it won't be what everybody needs, but nobody expects that from a history teacher, do they? They expect storytelling, and they expect wisdom and life lessons. Maybe a bit too much. I didn't really have that after university. When I got into university, I was just attending maths lectures all the time. So, it's real tough, real tough. And then there's this community you miss as well, because I was good at all these other subjects too, in the sense that I respected that they had value, and if I had any purpose, I respected that too. But of course, it's hard to tell yourself to do anything now, because nobody's telling you what to do. Nobody's suggesting that you go to lectures or anything. Seriously, the opposite. They're only all you have is ads and entertainment and your parents telling you to eat food, and never ever has my mom suggested that I go ahead and do a project. She only notices that I am doing projects sometimes. It's my responsibility, and she knows that. But it's also because she's done it all herself as well. But when you say somebody else has done something that you might want to do, if somebody else has come out with I have a degree in managerial science. Okay, so about managing science. All right, so do I have questions about that? Do I have questions to somebody who comes at me? And that's the only response that is necessary when somebody comes at you and says they have a degree, is you ask them questions. You drill them about that fucking piece of paper that they think they have, right? You make sure that they are able to represent what they know and not just say they have something, because it's bullshit, to say that they just pass an exam. They think it's all normal as well, because they've normalized it with their own cliques in the college, telling themselves that they're doing it right, and it's tough because that's the fucking shape of the world that they're in. But if somebody outside the box wants to represent knowledge that way, they have a responsibility to answer questions to the other people who didn't get into college on those subjects, and they have to represent the fucking education that they have faithfully as a thing that you want. They shouldn't be like, oh man, I put myself through a degree and I got nothing out of it, and now it's all bullshit. You don't get to say it's all bullshit if you have a degree, all right? Because if you have a degree, it means you fucking did it yourself. You did it yourself. You got the degree yourself. You know what it means yourself, right? And that's what you're saying. You're saying you know something, but you're not able to express it. You're not able to tell other people anything about it. That's bullshit. A degree is a job. It's a job. It's a responsibility of having something that you are supposed to be able to share because it's only knowledge. So you might as well just be saying you have a hard drive and it's got a fucking password on it. Now, I don't have a degree because when I worked for a degree, when I really worked for a degree, I saw the exams, like everyone else, as an obstacle in my path of self-learning, right? I was trying to learn something about, about. There it is, about, right? When you're really learning something, it's not about something. You're just asking a question and you're figuring it out. And it's not all words. It's not all words. It's method and it's magic. It's like becoming somebody as well. It's becoming somebody who's able to possess knowledge. That's really what it is. And it all sort of goes downhill as well. If you get drugs involved, if you get alcohol involved, it goes downhill. You end up representing knowledge that nobody fucking asked for. Nobody wants to know what it's like living in the gutter, really, But we just have to listen to it because there's more energy coming out of that hellhole of a mind that has lived through some negative experience with drugs than there is coming out of a mind that's full of questions and greedy for knowledge. Because we all want to attain the knowledge. So we all sort of like take a leap of faith with ourselves when we have to listen to somebody who's smarter than us or who's like more perfected on that path of mistake-free experience that you get with proper study. So, but as long as you're able to see yourself as somebody who's doing something, well, that's the thing as well, because if you see yourself as somebody who's doing something, you're going to be greedy with it, and you're going to want to do it yourself. So, first of all, what are you talking about? Because that doesn't make any sense. So, like, talking is for others, and by talking to myself out loud, it's like I am committing a huge crime by not waiting. But like, how can I keep waiting for the people who I want to talk to, right? I've been waiting for somebody to fucking respond to their emails for 10 years, and it's a fucking disaster, okay? Because I'm starting not to care anymore. I'm starting just to not care what she thinks. And I don't know if I ever did care about what she thinks, to be honest. Because I can't remember anything she fucking said. Because every time I had a conversation with her, I was only trying to put myself like 100% there for her, It's like the way I live. It's like, it's, in some sense, it's romantic, and in some sense, it's dangerous because you're like, you're enchanted by her voice, and then you just can't analyze it. You don't remember anything. You don't record anything. I have nothing of the conversations we had. Nothing. I don't remember fuck all about it. All I remember is that she exists and she doesn't want to talk to me, Well, the fact that she doesn't want to talk to me is something that I have to make up in the absence of connection. But it's bullshit. I mean, to have to do that as a man, right? And it's her loss. But that's beside the point. This is something else. I was talking about how great I am, and then, of course, the more I think about how great I am with all the studies and all that, it's just the more likely I am to demand her love, which is the kind of person I am. I think. I think I have like earned something in these senses, but it's actually not that. It's just that I'm satisfied with that judgment because it respects the love to see myself as somebody who demands it, but it doesn't respect the work. It doesn't respect my genius. It makes a fool of me. And ultimately, it converts me from a student to a nobody at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, at the lowest rung of the ladder. Puts me right down there at the bottom to say, I love someone, or to say I'm waiting for her, or any of that. All that romantic stuff. It's brave, but it's stupid, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. She doesn't try to call me. My friend has her number, and he won't give it to me. And he's just trying to project. He's making me think that she doesn't want to talk to me, and I don't believe that. I can't believe it, because why would I? There's no. Well, I don't want to think that like there's a limit on how I'm able to love someone. Like, it's such a stupid limit. It's like you're not connected anymore with a technology, and that means that you're not in love anymore. Like, how the fuck? Who, like, what kind of robot decides that? The kind of robot that fucking arrests you for writing a fucking project. I wrote Harvard problems and then I just got arrested. It's a disaster. I got arrested 3 days before the the Floyd incident in America. And I was pinned on the ground, my arm behind my back. Oh, for fuck's sake. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, I've got like 4 seconds. So that's it. I won't talk about that anymore.